Part 1. Roman Emperors and the Persecution and Corruption of Christianity. Opening scene, dramatic music, visuals of ancient Rome, fires and persecution. The rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire was seen as a direct challenge to the power of the emperor and the state. Christianity was a radical message, rejecting the Roman pantheon of gods, refusing to worship the emperor, and preaching the arrival of another, a comforter, who would bring a final truth to humanity. This comforter, who was believed to be the prophet mentioned in the Torah, posed a threat not only to Roman religious order, but also to the power structure itself. Rome sought to destroy the Christian movement, but as time passed, it recognized the need to co-opt Christianity, altering its teachings to maintain control. Scene 1. The threat of Jesus' teachings to Roman power. Jesus teaching his followers, rejecting idol worship, speaking of the coming of another prophet. Jesus' teachings were revolutionary. He rejected idol worship, including the emperor worship that was central to Roman rule. More importantly, Jesus spoke of a comforter, another who would come after him to guide humanity. This comforter, who would complete the message, was understood by many of the early followers to be a prophet. However, this idea was troublesome to the Romans, who feared that this prophet would reveal truths that threatened their control over the empire. Nero, 54 to 68 AD, the first major persecution. The Great Fire of Rome, the persecution of Christians being burned alive and crucified. The first emperor to significantly persecute Christians was Nero, who ruled from 54 to 68 AD. After the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD, Nero used Christians as a scapegoat, blaming them for the destruction of the city. The emperor sought to suppress Christianity through brutal measures, burning Christians alive as human torches to light his gardens, feeding them to wild animals in the Colosseum, and crucifying them in public. Nero's goal was not just to eliminate Christians, but to stifle the growth of a movement that rejected Roman authority. Scene 3. Domitian, 81-96 AD, enforcing emperor worship. Visual, Roman temples, statues of the emperor being worshipped, Christians refusing to bow. Under Emperor Domitian, the pressure on Christians intensified. Domitian demanded that his subjects worship him as a living god. Christians, however, refused to bow to him, continuing to uphold their monotheistic beliefs. Domitian's persecution was aimed at those who would not conform to Roman religious practices. He also imposed harsh taxes and punishments on anyone who was seen as an enemy of the imperial cult. Christianity's resistance to emperor worship was seen as a direct affront to the empire's authority. Scene 4. 98 to 117 AD, the policy of toleration with restrictions. The Roman Empire at its height, Trajan's letters to Pliny the Younger. Emperor Trajan took a more pragmatic approach. In 112 AD, when the governor of Bithynia, Pliny the Younger, wrote to him seeking advice on how to deal with Christians, Trajan issued a decree that Christians should not be actively hunted down. However, if Christians were accused of defying Roman laws, they could still be punished. Trajan's policy was an attempt to maintain social order by preventing the spread of Christianity while allowing the empire to continue functioning without direct interference from the growing movement. Scene 5. Decius, 249-251 A, empire-wide persecution. Visual, Roman officials performing religious rituals, Christians being forced to renounce their faith. In 249 AD, Emperor Decius initiated the first empire-wide persecution of Christians, demanding that every citizen perform a sacrifice to the Roman gods and the emperor. Those who refused were seen as traitors. Christians who did not comply were executed. This attempt to force Christians to publicly renounce their faith was an effort by the Roman authorities to eliminate the religious sect entirely. For Decius, it was about ensuring unity in the empire, religiously, politically, and socially. But it also reflected Rome's deeper anxiety over the growing power of a faith that rejected its established order. Scene 6. Diocletian, 435 AD, the final attempt to destroy Christianity. The Great Persecution, Christians being dragged away, temples being destroyed. By the time Diocletian came to power in 284 AD, the Roman Empire was deeply threatened by the rise of Christianity. Diocletian's reign saw the most intense period of persecution, known as the Great Persecution, which lasted from 303 to 311 AD. Christians were ordered to recant their faith or face execution. Churches were destroyed, sacred texts were burned, and Christians were subjected to brutal tortures. Diocletian's ultimate goal was not just to eliminate Christianity, but to stamp out the very idea of monotheism that threatened the pagan Roman religious system. Rome's attempt to co-opt Christianity. Visual, Constantine's conversion, the Council of Nicaea. But after centuries of persecution, Rome realized it could no longer suppress Christianity. In 313 AD, Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity and ended the official persecution. However, Constantine's acceptance of Christianity wasn't about embracing its original teachings. It was about gaining control over the religion. The emperor sought to consolidate his power by aligning himself with Christian leaders and creating a unified faith that could be manipulated for political purposes. At the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, Constantine and church leaders worked together to establish a unified Christian doctrine that would align with Roman interests. The church became intertwined with the state, and many of Jesus' teachings were altered. The emphasis on the coming of another prophet, the Comforter, was obscured and misunderstood. The truth of what Jesus had said about this other was hidden, and Christianity was restructured to suit the political needs of the Roman Empire. Visual depictions of church councils, Constantine with bishops. Conclusion of part. Narrator. This manipulation of Christian doctrine laid the foundation for centuries of church-state alliances, leading to events like the Crusades and the Inquisitions, where the church was weaponized to maintain control and suppress those who challenged its authority. But what Rome failed to realize was that the original message of Jesus, of a coming prophet, was not lost. The truth would eventually be revived through another prophet in the 7th century, Prophet Muhammad, who would restore the original teachings of Jesus and guide humanity back to the path of monotheism and righteousness.